Arming teachers or armed teachers in school?
Um, I don't think so. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. My reasoning behind it is because a even like biometric like lock boxes where because obviously this firearm's gonna have to be locked up in the classroom if you
Mm-hmm.
arm a teacher,
Absolutely.
and of course you're gonna have to put these teachers through proper certification,
Mm-hmm.
proper training, which is gonna cost us money that the school already doesn't have. Um, and the even biometric lock boxes can still be broken into. So you're now putting the firearm in this in the classroom of a potentially um, unstable child, like unstable kid that could somehow get into it, and now you got this kid that's armed. Especially if like the teacher like steps out for like a minute,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then yeah, then going back to, and then the next thing is like going back to like the whole funding. Like, would it be the teacher's personal firearm? Would it be one that's issued? And then we run into like, well, I personally don't think police should be using personal firearms on the job, so then teachers shouldn't be using personal firearms on the job. So it's a both a funding thing and a safety thing. I think we're better off having like a third party like security team
Mm-hmm.
potentially
So
than
you're not a no guns at all. You're a just not someone who's basically certified to be a teacher
Have,
there.
exactly.
he's a have the right people with the guns. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Do
the
you?
people that have the actual training,
Yeah.
proper certification, not someone that's trying to teach science or biology or something like that, and also trying to make sure that the students are safe, make sure the students don't get to that firearm. And then like people are like, just have the teacher carry the firearm at all times. Well, now that teacher's a target
What was his name?
by by the students,
Right.
um, and that kind of plays into my whole open carry thing, where I think open carry is stupid. But anyways, I digress. Um, and even if they conceal carry, like, I mean, growing up, some of these teachers, like the clothes that they would wear, like even
Mm-hmm.
though it'd be like loose button-up t-shirts, like you can still tell sometimes when someone's carrying a firearm.
Yeah.
And then like, and then you run into the issue of like, how are they gonna get to the firearm? Like stuff like that. It's just, I think if we are gonna have like a some sort of armed security at like a school, it shouldn't be the teachers. It should actually be someone that's professionally trained, professionally certified, and someone that can actually do it than someone that maybe got like an hour or two of actual training.
I got you. Do you have a preference or a opinion on whether or not it should be a police officer? Because I've seen
Um,
those arguments as well.
if eh, yes and no, like if I
Tricked you
mean personally,
already.
yeah, I did not. I wasn't a huge fan of my resource officer when I was in high school because he was very gung ho,
Mhm.
um, which I wasn't a huge fan of. He body slammed a black kid when he got in a fight with another kid. So,
Nice.
um, how about I saw this idea? How about veterans that don't have a job because they already have the training, they
Yeah.
just need to get certified and get them some like get them the proper firearms, and they can easily do it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Um, I mean, I would agree with that. I think that's a good opportunity for both retired veterans and retired police officers.
Yeah,
I think that that's a really good opportunity for either one of them. And then you'd have someone in plain clothes, not necessarily in police uniform, because that does make some people uncomfortable.
I I went to a school in high school in Georgia, and we're the only high school in the county, and it was a Navy town, so we had thousands of kids in this one building,
Uh-huh.
and it was insane. And then we have one resource officer for the entire building. And
Which
I'm like,
so
and I wasn't
actually,
even a fan of that guy.
so on that, that leads to a good question there. Um, do you think it should be on a per student basis? Should it be one we'll just say resource officer, one resource officer per X amount of students? Or do you think that it should be acreage? Or
I,
do
I
you
I
think it,
think it should be acreage.
think it should be
yes,
acreage?
I agree.
But So I also think that I would be perfectly fine with more police presence in schools. I think as long as you have a certain amount of resource officers per building or per acreage of the school, that
Hmm.
way it's you how much you're able to cover and clear classrooms if you have to and that stuff. And then obviously with anything like that happening, you're going to be calling in extra resources anyway. So
I
I
got you.
think it would be more acreage.
Okay, and one thing I'd like to pitch also, I know both of y'all were pretty much a no for teachers, but I would like to pitch just to see your opinions. Um, Exceptions to the rule as far as teachers go, as far as no teachers, being whether or not they had military experience, whether or not they are some type of retired law enforcement. I think that every school shouldn't necessarily have one, but I think if there's a teacher that can prove that they have the training, or maybe they do a required hours amount of training on their own dime, that
Okay.
they have the ability to apply for, let's just call it a permit, um, just
I'd be
as that
okay with
extra.
that. Yeah, because I would say it would have to hinge on the own dime thing because otherwise it would never get passed.
Yeah.
Because like Jacob said, schools are tight on money as it is.
Yeah,
So if someone said, "Hey, like I've gone through the certification on my own, there's no extra money for you guys. Here's my lockbox," the whoever would have a like whoever's the officer on duty would have a key to it,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. I feel like I'd be cool with that.
Okay.
what
Someone
about
who's ex law enforcement or ex military being like, "Hey, I've got this, and this. All the bases covered. Cool."
I don't know if I would feel. I think I would feel better like having like a centralized armory in a school that you can go to, like, because you you give the police the key to this lockbox that's in the teacher's classroom. Now this like police officers running around the school trying to get these teachers firearms, whereas teachers could go one central location and then fan out to like designated parts of the school,
But
which
but
Which
for
at the
most of those exercises, the teachers are commanded to stay in their classroom with the doors locked and all that stuff with their students.
that's
yeah,
So I
true.
feel like
Yeah,
if you have teachers leaving and then coming back, that's extra chaos.
which they don't necessarily even have to leave. Like, they don't even necessarily have to be the ones to search the premises. What they could do is they could lock down their room and stand outside the door, so where they're still making sure the students are doing what they need to do,
Right.
but they're able to see down the hallways. So that's where I'm coming from with that. Against the armory thing, due to the amount of exceptions that would be needed, I don't think that an armory would necessarily be required, because it would be very few and far between for teachers that would qualify for this. Um,
that's true.
which, on your training thing, I do have one follow up question on that. I'm sure when you initially started your training, people to the left and right, you probably saw people who were super comfortable with guns, and you probably saw people who had never touched a gun in their life. Um, if you had to put a number on it, because I can put a number, but again, I can put my number for me. If you had to guesstimate a number, how many hours of specific like firearm training would you guess that it would take for a person to feel comfortable enough or be considered responsible enough to safely operate that firearm?
Um, well, I can tell you right now, when I was still in, it was 2 weeks. Like when it came to rifles.
And that's two
Um,
weeks like nonstop. Like,
yeah, like they would actually designate 2 weeks. Um, like they would designate like 1 week would be like actually shooting, getting used to it, and then like if I remember correctly, that's how it was. Like 1 week. Yeah. So the first time was you spent all week shooting,
mm-hmm.
practicing, and like the last day, the second to last day is pre-qual, and then the last day is qual, and then you get like another week of like actual like combat like shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So like at least in boot camp, we got 2 weeks, and then from there we went to MCT and we got like a whole month's worth of training. So I think for if we were to arm teachers, if we were to do it, I would feel comfortable with a teacher getting certified and having one if they were had at least 3 weeks. Just
3 weeks?
because you gotta get familiar with this specific firearm, you have to be able to like if it malfunctions, how do you clear the malfunction? How do you get back operating? Because in another situation, like when it came to like actual fire teams and like whatnot, when your weapon went down, there's still three guys around you using weapon.
Yeah.
In an active shooter drill where a teacher's by himself, he's on his own. Like he has to be able to clear that weapon, get it back operational like as quickly as possible. Where it was like if it came down to like 1 week of familiarizing yourself with the firearm and then 2 weeks of actually like shooting, making sure you're actually a good shot, stuff like that, then I'd be for that.
Yeah, because my only worry is, say you have a school with one resource officer. If that resource officer gets blindsided right off the bat and they're the first victim, that school is SOL. There is no more
Yeah.
protection until the police arrive.
Yep.
So that's why
Mhm.
I think that we should have that backup. But again, I think it should be extenuating circumstances. And
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with 3 weeks because like after 3 weeks, you're just like kind of going through the motions at that point. Which muscle memory is very important when it comes to like clearing a malfunction, like going through the steps and whatnot. But at the same time, like after like I said, after 2 days of staring at a barrel, I got bored real quick.
yeah, but I think that maybe if we decide on 3 weeks that we say maybe the local army base or the local military base, because most major cities have some type of military base. Maybe they just offer that course for certified teachers with the county, and it's just a set price. The teacher, pay X amount. We'll train you for 3 weeks. You come out 8 hours a day. You'll have your training, and we'll certify you. Or if they don't feel comfortable, it's the military. If they don't feel comfortable with you having a gun, you don't have a gun. But
Yep.
would y'all have any alternatives to that? Whether it be military training, get it from the police department.
I think, yeah, having like you could get like your CCW class at like ranges. You
Mhm.
can, of course, they have to go through their own certifications to do that. I think they could do the training, and then have like the police or the military, or even have like a third party
Mhm.
that to do the actual like testing and certification at the
Yeah.
end of it all, instead of having like this guy that's like, oh, you're good to go. Here's
Instead of
your-
the trainer
here's your
thinking that they
certification."
did a good job training, that it has
Yeah.
to be a separate person that says, "All right,
Get
let's see
someone
what you
that's
did."
like unbiased to do it.
Right.
Someone that like actually takes it seriously. It's not gonna be like, hey, if you give me $100, I'll pass you.